Broncos, it's a danger game for them up against the Melbourne Storm. Not because of the result, they can't make the finals, but just to see if the players turn up for Kevvie after last week's demoralising loss to the Broncos.
It's a really significant game, I think, for Kevvie, because if you look back on this season, in my eyes, the two defining matches for the Broncos was the big loss to the Bulldogs and the big loss to the Dolphins last week. And the last thing, with all the noise and talk going on around him at the moment, is to go out and get lapped by the Storm in the final round. And we all know that Craig Bellamy takes pride in trying to beat the Broncos. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the reason he rested his players last week and not this week, so they'd be up for the Broncos. And it's a big match.
Absolutely. And Storm give them nothing. Melbourne Storm versus the Broncos, last 20 years, I think it was 20-odd games and Brisbane beat them last year. Remember when I think they both rested and they beat them, I think, in this round last year. So it's a big challenge for the players to get up for it, because Melbourne Storm will be up for it, no doubt.
Yeah, look, I've got concerns about all the discussion point around Kevvy's future, guys, and this is something I've spoken about previously, about when clubs make decisions to move on a coach, and the fact that we're talking about Kevvie in this space of, oh yeah, he'll get to start next season, and we'll get to see how many weeks, the first 12 rounds. It's always a concern for me, because we've already seen it. We saw it with Anthony Griffin at St George Illawarra. The St George Illawarra board failed to make a decision in the pre-season of the year that they eventually sacked him, and it was a wasted year for Saints. We're seeing it currently with Parramatta, who are in a spoon bowl with the West Tigers, moving on Brad Arthur with this season still underway. If the Broncos get into this situation of making a decision on Kevin Walters, next year is a complete write-off. There's no point whatsoever in going forward with Kevvie next year if they don't believe he's the man for the job beyond next season.
This is my point. So this weekend's game, for them, usually it would mean nothing because they can't make the finals. But will this tell us, Gordie, if Kevvie has the support of a playing group or not?
Well, I think he does have the support of the playing group, and the people that I talk to above said that he is there next year. So there's no talk of them not wanting him as coach. They know that there was injuries. They know that they didn't manage expectations. And there was a few injuries this year. So to me, it comes down like, and I've said
what has to happen is, and I appreciate your legacy and your role within that, the role you play within that club. Yet we have not heard from anyone that, as you said, the higher-ups, coming out and declaring that Kevin Walters is at the Broncos for the remainder of next season. No one. We haven't heard a single word of CEO chair declaring that Kevin Walters will be the coach. And until that happens, we are going to be in the scenario of what I've just spoken about, of determining.
A secret, when they appointed him, he had to go buy his own shirt and do his own press conference. So there's been no support there from day one. From up above him. So he's always been there on his own.
That has to be a concern, because
why?
What you just said is right. You guys sat at the desk last night.
He's got to do a grand final by himself. So, mate, he'll get him. I trust Kevvie to dig him out of there.
But my point here is, Gordie, you guys spoke last night. Why hasn't Adam Reynolds came out and supported Kevvie? And then Adam
I never said Adam Reynolds. I never said... When I was on radio, I said something.
Was last night. It related to Adam Reynolds. My question: why hasn't Dave Donaghy come out? Why hasn't Carl Morris come out? Like, they're the bosses of the club. Buzz sat here last night and said, "I think Kevvie should get until round 12 next year." To your point, why round 12? Like, if there's a tough decision to be made, you make it now, or you come out and back him and put your word to it that he's going to be there. Don't crucify next season. Like that, because that's what will happen. Because, Gordie, if they go 12 rounds into next year, mate,
so they want
16 other clubs lose grand finals. Wayne Bennett hasn't won a grand final in 15 years.
Yeah, understand.
But I'm not saying sack Kevvie. I'm saying if there is the trust in him, they've got to come out and say it.
So the best coach has not won in 15 years. Coaches don't win unless you've got the best rosters. Who's got the best roster?
There is
the Roosters.
there is great support
Penrith.
and understandable passion and loyalty
Yeah.
from you, Gordie. But what I'm asking is, why haven't the club come out and said the same thing? You said
I
a
know,
moment
that's a
ago he had to
question for
buy
them.
his
You
own
guys are in the
shirt
media.
when he turned up for the press conference. He needs the support. If he really has the support of that club, they've got to come out publicly and say it.
Well, that's a question for them, not for me.
True.
But I'll always stick up for a mate, and that's what Australians do.
And that's why we love you.
There you go.